Thank you. It's really nice to see so many people interested in static analysis here. This year is a special year for Pylint because it is its 12th birthday. So yeah, basically it's the oldest static analysis tool in Python that maintained, which is really nice. So in this talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about Pylint's history, and we'll go through a detour in static analysis, and we'll see where that goes. So what is this lint thing I'm talking about? Basically, lint is like a tool you use to analyze your code in order to find bugs or potential errors or style checks or stuff like that. Saying this about Pylint is an understatement since it can detect a lot more than a normal linter. It's also a style checker, which enforces PEP8 rules. It's a structural analyzer looking at your classes and at your special methods and checking if they are implemented correctly. And it's also a type checker. So Pylint works by using a technique called static analysis, which is basically the act of analyzing code without actually executing it. And if you don't use static analysis right now, you should use it. You should use any other tool, not just Pylint, because it can really help you in your day-to-day job. For instance, you can use static analysis if you have a lot of tests and it takes a lot of time to run, and you just want to check that there are no obvious errors in your code or stuff like that. Or if you have big legacy systems which don't have tests at all. In fact, as my first job experience, I worked at a company where we have a lot of big legacy systems, but they didn't have tests. So using static analysis was paramount for checking that everything works before going in production. And you can use it as a form of doing reviews. Well, of course, it's not equivalent to a manual review, but it's better than no review at all. Right. So here's a piece of code which has a couple of problems, and I'm going to show how Pylint detects this kind of stuff. For instance, if you can see, I imported OS, but I didn't use it across my program. And I also defined a variable which is just there, it's not used. Of course, this is not a problem per se, but it leads to ugly code or unmaintainable code or stuff like that. And more important is this block here from line 8 to 10. Let's just say that I indented that code incorrectly, and that code will not run because it's after an array statement. So basically, it's useless code. Also, at line 10, I intended to call the execute method, but I didn't. So that's also a problem. And as you can see down here, Pylint detects this kind of stuff and properly emits that there is something fishy in your code. Okay. But we can detect more serious bugs than this, like using undefined variables or trying to access members that don't exist, or calling functions that aren't functions, like calling an integer. And as you can see here, Pylint detects this kind of stuff, and it's really nice for a static analysis tool to tell you that you made a mistake in your program. And as I was saying before, Pylint is also a structural analyzer, checking that your special methods are properly implemented or that your classes are written correctly. And in this case, the $exit method needs 3 parameters in order to work properly. And Pylint detects this kind of stuff. It emits that warning, right? Another nice error that Pylint can detect is this one. Basically, here I have a function, and then I have an if statement with func as a conditional for the if statement. And what I intended here to do initially was to call func, but I forgot to write the parents. And this statement will always be true. And that if statement, if branch will always be taken. So if you write this for this piece of code, you might, how to say, if you write this for this piece of code, you might overlook it if you didn't test it properly. So Pylint can help you in this kind of situation as well. Okay. Take a couple of moments to figure out what's the problem here. If you know the answer, yell really, really loud. Anyone?
Variables being changed in the loop.
Sorry?
Var is being changed in the loop.
Var is being changed in the loop. So what's the output of this code? Who said that? Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Basically, what we did is we created a closure here, and var was looked up into parent scope when called. Yeah, doesn't work. And var was looked up into parent scope and called. And for this particular case, the parent scope was the least comprehension, at least on Python 3. So when the for loop was executed and callable was called, basically the var was the last value from the for loop, which was 9. So that's a bug, and if you try to do a review, you might have missed this stuff, and Pylint can help you deal with this kind of situation. Okay. A little bit of history about Pylint. It was created in 2003 by a French company called Logilab. They used to maintain it for a while, for 10 years, but now they are not so involved anymore. In fact, they are not involved anymore in Pylint's development, even though many still think that about them, which is wrong. I know that Google uses a modified version of Pylint internally for their use cases because they had a maintainer for gPylint that was also a maintainer for Pylint, and they used to push upstream a lot of changes. And some statistics, according to Ochloch.net, we have over 30,000 lines of code, which is pretty big, but not big enough because we can't detect all the problems in your code. And unfortunately, Pylint is GPL licensed because GPL was really cool back then in 2003. It still is? Yeah. And here's my involvement with Pylint. Basically, I started working on it in 2013 when Pylint 1.0 was released. And up to Pylint 1.3, I became a committer, a maintainer, the only maintainer, and the guy that pushes the thing forward. I'm planning to release Pylint 2.0 in 2016, if my time allows it. And I'm going to have some advanced techniques in it. It's still right now pretty advanced, but it's going to be even more advanced than that. Basically, I'm going to use a technique called abstract interpretation, where I'm going to interpret statically your code, not actually executing, but statically. And also, I'm going to add support for PEP 484, what GuidoStock was about, and changing the things internally, like having control flow graphs and having a symbolic execution engine for it. Yeah. Right. And at this point, you might ask yourself, this is cool, but how it works and why does it work statically? First of all, Pylint is split actually in two components, into real checker and its inference engine, and the component that understands Python, which is Asteroid. We're following the general pattern of building a linter. Basically, we're using abstract syntax trees, even though our abstract syntax trees are augmented with a couple of functions help us in building the inference engine. And internally, Asteroid uses the built-in module AST, which kind of looks like this when using it. You import parse and you give it a string, and from there you get an abstract syntax tree, which basically looks like this. So if you can see at the top of the tree, we have a lambda, which has a couple of arguments. And the blue stuff out there, the blue thingy is a node, and the rest of them are just attributes of those nodes. So as you can see, it's pretty structured, and you can, just by looking at it, you can reason about code. Right. Even though AST is great, it's built in, we don't have to write our own parser, it's not perfect because it's not backwards compatible, not even for minor versions of Python releases like 3.4 and 3.5. Basically, they are going to add new nodes or remove nodes or change things out there. And Asteroid strives to be a backward compatible wrapper over AST that you can use for Python 2.7 till Python 3.5, and as well for PyPy or Jython or any other interpreter which supports abstract syntax trees. And the API is quite similar with the AST. As you can see, it doesn't differ too much. We have basically this. Yeah, so if you're using AST right now and you want something more capable, you could use it. And as I mentioned, our Asteroid nodes are quite similar with the one from AST, but we augment them with a couple of capabilities specific for our purposes. Like in this example, for instance, you can actually retrieve the parent of a node, and you can walk up in the tree, starting from one node. Also, you can walk down by using the getChildren method, right? Also, you can retrieve the lexical scope of a variable. For instance, in this particular case, the lexical scope of foo is the function where it is defined. And down there at the list comprehension, basically I'm doing foo for foo in range 10. And the scope of foo, at least on Python 3, is the list comprehension itself. So foo doesn't leak outside. Yeah, and Pylint can actually know this kind of stuff, and Asteroid. Right. Some nodes are augmented even more than that. Like in this example, we have a couple of classes, and we're using a meta class. We're using ABC meta, and we're defining some slots for our class. And yeah. Let's see what Pylint can do, what Asteroid can do with this code. So we can retrieve the slots of the class using the slots method, or the meta class using the meta class method, or using the MRO method. We could retrieve the method resolution order of your classes, which is actually the method resolution order when running Python over that script or class, which is nice. But the most important part about Asteroid is not the AST itself, but the capability of doing inference. Basically, inference means the act of resolving what a node really represents. Like if you have a name, and that name represents something like a variable or a function call, you want to infer that, and you want to see what's at the end of the tree for that particular node. Our nodes basically implements the Python semantics. For instance, a call func inference rule will be the return values of the call func. Or for list comprehensions, its inference rule would be the actual list that is returned when evaluating the list comprehension. And our inference also does some partial abstract interpretation, but it's partial because it's not working for all the cases in your code. Right. And in this particular example, we have a function which adds two values, the argument. And as you can see in this particular case, when inferring what this function actually returns, in fact, when inferring what's the result of the function call, Asteroid knows that it's 48, because 24 plus 24, it's 48. Yep. This is a more complex example involving binary operators. And if you know, the rules of binary operators in Python goes like that. If you have two different objects and you try to add them, the dunder add method of the left-hand side will be called. And if that doesn't return not implemented, then I think the right-hand side object, I think that the dunder radd method of the right-hand side object will be called. And in this particular example, we're having in the left-hand side a super type, which is A. As you can see, A is a super type for B because B has as its base class A. And in the right-hand side, we have B, which is a subtype of A. And the rules are a little bit different in this particular case because if the semantics would be the same as for the different classes rule, then the first rule, then the first method, dunder add, will always be called, which is wrong. And in this particular example, what will happen is that first the dunder radd method of B will be called, and in this particular example, it returns not implemented. So it will fall back to the other one, which is add the dunder add method from A. And if you do the calculations, you can see that Asteroid is right. The result of that operation is actually 45. Yeah. Okay. Now, Asteroid is great, Pylint is great, but they can't really understand your code. I mean, they can't really understand your full code. So we have to deal with this kind of situation. And we're providing a couple of APIs that could help you, like having node transforms. Basically, with a node transform, we can modify a part of the AST to be something else, like you have a function call, and instead of that function call, you want to do inlining, and replacing the AST node with the result of the function call or anything you'd like. And we can do that with this API. Basically, that API is a function which should accept one parameter, that parameter being the original node, and should return either the node modified or a new node. And you just register that function with an internal manager. It's an implementation detail, but anyway, you just register your transform function, and when doing asteroid.parse, the transform function will be called for that particular type of node. In this example, I'm registering a transform for the class node, and also you can apply a filter function because you don't actually want to change all class nodes in your code. Maybe you want to change something in particular. And as you can see there, I'm just giving it filter functions for filtering any other class that is not 6 add meta class. Right. The same thing can be used for inference rules because at some point, really, you want to have different inference semantics than the Python offers you. So using the same API, you can provide a custom inference rule for, I don't know, you want to infer list comprehensions differently, or you want to infer function calls differently. So you're using this inference rule, and you're changing basically the semantics of Python in your AST. And we're eating our own dog food in this example, not in this example. We're eating our dog food with inference rules because we have inference rules for built-ins, as I'll show you immediately. Basically, with inference rules, we are understanding is instance, is subclass, we are understanding get author, has author, type, callable, list, set, what we're understanding, not in particular with inference rules, binary arithmetic operations, really good, logical operators or comparisons. Also, we're understanding context managers and list, set, string indexing, slicing, whatever. Yeah. As earlier, take a couple of moments to see where are the bugs in this particular code. There should be like 3 bugs, but if you can find more, join Pylin's team. Also, if you know the answer, yell really loud. And as a hint, when how super works, basically the first argument of super the last argument of super specifies the from resolution order will be retrieved.
Supercall is wrong then.
Sorry?
The second supercall takes 1 argument too much then.
Yeah, that's good. Because in that particular case, super C and self will, the method resolution order in this particular case, I don't know what it is, but super C self will call B because A doesn't have bool, yeah, and it's multiple cooperative inheritance, if I'm not mistaken, and B bool will be called, and B bool doesn't accept to. Anyone?
And there's no foo and no spa.
Yeah, there's no spa, and there is a foo. There are too many voices. One at a time. Foo is not callable, exactly. So it takes this stuff because Asteroid knows Python really well. And as you can see, what Pylin says, there are too many positional arguments at line 14, which is actually true. Foo is not callable, of course, because foo is an integer. And super V has no spam member, true, because it's spam, not spam. Yeah. Here's a more complex example of Asteroid capabilities. And as you can see here, Asteroid understands list indexing, understands has author, callable, get author. And at that particular line where met is retrieved, what will happen is that has author call will return true because A has the method called met, and A met is callable, and get author from get met from A will return object. So it will be like true and A dot met, and in this particular case, the last value, which is also true, will be returned. So met will be A dot met. And then the context manager is invoked, and the context manager will return real func, which has no argument whatsoever, and we're going to call that, and Pylin will say that, hey, you used too many positional arguments in your method call. You should change that. Yeah. So this kind of stuff that Asteroid knows about Python code, and Pylint knows about it as well. Yep. I don't know, I'm going really fast, or how much time do I have? Okay, thank you. Pylint is not so complicated. Asteroid is the most complicated thing. Basically, it's like a fancy walker of the AST, and it has a couple of patterns, more than a couple, because Pylint can detect almost 180 type of errors or verifications. And basically, we're using the visitor pattern at each node, because that pattern really decouples your data structures from your algorithms. And a small example of how visitor pattern works. Let's say we implement in our own checker visit call func. And in this particular example, we're importing collections, and we're obtaining the default attribute from collections. There's no default attribute in collections, by the way, it's default dict. And what will happen is that visit get author will be called with the node, which will be the get author node. Afterwards, we'll infer what that node really represents. I mean, what the parent of the statement really represents. The parent will be the name collections. And we need to infer it because we should know what that node represents at the end of the AST. Afterwards, we're calling the getAuthor method with the result from the inference. And if that doesn't raise any error, such as not found, yay, collections has default to default attribute. Else, we're going to emit a no member error. But before that, we're going to have a couple of filters, like the owner is a mixing class, because you might not have that attribute in a mixing class, or I don't know, the owner is a class with unknown bases, like bases from extension modules. And we can't really understand extension modules, by the way. Yeah, I'll go really fast from now on, because I don't have much time left. Basically, abstract interpretation will have Pylint for this kind of code. In this particular example, the dunder dict is updated with the dictionary of, I don't know what kind of arguments will be passed. And at line 5, we will call some arguments set in dunder init or whatever other attribute, and that attribute might not exist. And what happens right now is that Pylint says, hey, you don't have that attribute, but we're actually having that attribute because we just inserted it at line 2. So that's what abstract interpretation is going to fix, because it will just interpret every line, every logical line in your code, and it will know at the end what side effects each line had. Okay, we have multiple types of checkers and errors, such as conventions for Pepe rules, refactorings, various warnings, which aren't necessarily bugs in your code, and actual bugs like no member or not callable, things like that. And we have two types of checkers, AST-based and token-based. The token-based checkers are for, I don't know, a line is too long, or bad indentation, or other similar examples. Pylint has a really vibrant community. There are a lot of external packages for improving inference, for improving Pylint's checkers out there. You could write your own if you want to. The problem is that they are pure Python, so you need to write Python code in order to have a custom checker. It comes with a couple of features, extra features, like you could generate UML diagrams from your code, or you could spell check your docstrings or comments. These are disabled by default. Or you could use the Python 3 porting checker. which is a checker. When activated, all other checkers are disabled, and it will emit stuff that it's not going to work in Python 3 anymore, like using remove syntax or remove built-ins or special methods, or my favorite is using map, filter, or reduce in non-iterable contexts. As you can see in this particular example, on Python 3, map is lazy evaluated, and it, in this particular example, download URL will never be called, because, at least on Python 3, because you should evaluate it first to return a generator, stuff like that. Okay. Oh, there are a lot of similar tools like PyFlix, MyPy, PyChecker. PyChecker basically is the forefather of PyLint. I should say a couple of things. Even PyChecker is now defunct and dead for a couple of years. It was way more advanced than many of static analysis tools that exist currently in Python. As you can see in this example, we are unpacking 3 items in 2 variables, or we are having a constant check, or we're catching an exception, which is not really an exception, true. And PyFlix, as you can see, detected almost nothing, while PyChecker detected all these errors. Yeah, there's also Jedi and MyPy. Okay, yeah. One final note is that users, at least a part of them, actually expects this kind of code to be understood. But really, that's actually possible. So if you want static analysis tools to understand this, just don't do it. Yeah. Yeah, and this is basically the future of PyLint. We'll have PyLint 2.0 next year. We'll have full flow control analysis, better data model like understanding descriptors or having the proper attribute access logic. It's not the same in PyLint as it is in Python. And I'm interested in bringing more contributors into the project. And my final slide is, hey, what your talk title is, how do I stop worrying and start loving the bugs, and so on. Well, PyLint helps if you're going to use it, and if you're going to write as many tests as possible. So use PyLint. Thank you.
Have we got any questions? Or many questions? That's really odd.
Yeah, there is one question there.
Hi, I actually have a comment or a word of caution and a question.
Yeah.
The comment is, if you're going to start PyLint, it will take you some time to configure it, to make it shut up about things which don't interest you, but it is well worth the time to do so.
Yeah.
And the question was, how did you get into this kind of parsing Python and ASTs? And I mean, I tried to write PyLint plugins, and because there isn't really much documentation for PyLint and Destrade, I found it very hard to get into this topic.
I was a user of PyLint before, and it had a bug, like it didn't detect stuff, like it didn't detect unbalanced tuple unpacking, like unpacking 3 items into 2 items. And I had a bug in production with that stuff, and I just wanted PyLint to, hey, tell me about this. So I implemented that check, and I started from there.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
One other question. What are your thoughts about PyLlama?
PyLlama,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, is a wrapper over multiple linters like PyLint and Flake 8.
Yeah, so it just makes PyLint and other
Yeah,
stuff.
I never use it, actually.
Ah, okay.
More questions?
There's one here.
I'm not sure what it is. Can you be more visible?
Here.
At the front, okay. There you go.
Hello. So regarding the first question, the most common complaint about Pylint is that it has too many checks active. So maybe what if there will be like some sort of configuration wizard that will show you examples and will ask you, do you want this or not?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would
that
be
will-
cool. That would be nice to have, but I don't have time to write it myself, actually. Sorry? Yeah,
That's the question. Is there a sprint on Pylint?
yeah, there is. There is Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you. And can you join if you're a beginner?
Sorry?
Can you join to the sprint if you're a beginner?
Yeah, of course.
Great. More questions? All right, I think it's fair enough. No, thank you again, Claudio.
Buczynski.
Hi again, everyone. Our next talk is by Sebastian Buczynski. He comes from Poland, where he works as a software developer, and he's going to talk to us about distributed logs with Python and Redis. So please welcome Sebastian.
Thank you for coming. Hola, everyone. Did you notice that there are 3 talks at the same time with the word distributed in name? The EuroPython folks have some sense of humor, for sure. Well, first of all, I would like to introduce myself, as it was already did. So I'm a software developer and a maintenance guy at Focus Telecom Poland. My main toys are gEvent, Twisted, and Celery. What we are doing at the company is to providing a business-to-business telecommunication solutions. Like we host teleconferences, we sell PBXs, but our main product is a contact center. So nowadays you have multiple ways to communicate with each other. There are social media, there are SMS text messages, there are emails, and there are phone calls. So a contact center is a way to unify all these, to gain a much better contact with your customer. Throughout this talk, I will show you the principles of implementing distributed logs in Redis using Python, and show the usage in a real-life application. So does anyone know, or does anybody doesn't know what Redis is? Okay, there are some hands, so I will quickly refer to that. The Redis is a NoSQL database. It's basic key value storage, but the key can be only a string, but the value can be more complicated data structure. For the sake of this talk, most important are string and list. They are pretty much like Python counterparts. And also Redis has a simple support for a message passing. First of all, I will introduce some case study. Then I will show you how to implement correctly a distributed binary semaphore, so-called mutex, and later on semaphore. And finally, I will give you some tips, and there will be some time for questions. So, first of all, this is a loose definition that I came up with a few days ago. The Guido on his talk yesterday has gave a of locking and keeping safe the reference counters. The other case would be that we have a shared database connection between threads in Python, and we would not like to other thread sending some SQL comments while the other thread was trying to carry out a transaction. So this is basically what lock is. It's to protect a shared resource. So the case study will concern a contact center. Hope nobody expected that. So in the contact center work people, of course, and we refer to them as agents. Can answer, originate phone calls, email messages, text messages, or carry out chat conversations, and this kind of stuff. And the main advantage of contact center is that it automates all of this kind of work. So it keeps the agents busy. So they are not looking at the floor or sailing. Okay. But to be this concept more familiar, I have replaced agent with giant W that stands for a worker. And E are tasks. So you could say that this looks like a task queue. Who doesn't know any task queue solutions like Celery, RQ, Germans? Are there anyone who hasn't heard any one of them? No, there are. It's good. So basically, you know the concept, and this is the problem we are trying to solve. Yeah, it looks similar. You know the stuff. You can apply a working solution, as it will be great, right? Wrong. There are a couple of things that you have to worry about. First of all, a worker is an autonomous creature, and it can choose whether to work or not. He can simply log out of the system, and he will not be available anymore. And this is a normal situation. This is not a failure of system or some kind. You cannot force somebody to stay logged in and work, at least not in Poland. The tasks must be prioritized, and this is a heavily desired feature from our. So I don't know if any other distributed task queues like Celery support this. As far as I know, in Celery you can partially achieve this by routing to different queues, and that's all. So it's also not sufficient. And the last, mostly mind-blowing, is that one worker can handle multiple tasks simultaneously. And I don't mean concurrently, but simultaneously, so in parallel, at least from a point of view of task manager. So this will be viewed that way. Of course, Qman cannot carry out 2 phone conversations at the same time. But why not write an email and speak to somebody? That's fine. So our solution depicted as a whole looks like task manager, and it's written using Twisted. And the Redis will serve as a logs server. So the first thing I would like to say is about binary semaphore. It has only 2 states. It can be locked or unlocked. To lock it, I will refer to this as acquiring, and to unlocking as releasing. That's the same as in standard Python library. Who has a background with multiprocessing or multi-threading library? Yeah, that's quite a lot. And who was on the Monday talk on this? Yeah, that's quite a few things. And it will be stored as a Redis string, and all calls to acquire it or release will be non-blocking from Python. The first use case is about keeping state of a worker, whether he's busy or idle. Meaning that log is released, it's the same as idle, and so on. And the log will be acquired when a task manager will assign a task, and it will be released afterwards, so it's over. And the second case is about preventing race conditions. The one I mentioned, that worker would like to log out sometimes and, I don't know, go for a break or something, that he can do it using this mechanism, because it can acquire a log before a task manager do. Or it will simply do not release it after finishing its previous task. Okay, so since this is stored this Redis as string, we would use 2 Redis commands: a set to store a log, to set the string, and a get to retrieve it. What we need is atomicity. Every single command of Redis is an atomic one, so no one else can disrupt your data. So the first draft we have from this was something like that. We getting the log, checking if we can lock it actually, and then do it. But there's a problem, because between get and set, there is some instruction running, and this as a whole is not atomic. So someone else might have changed this in the meantime, and this is a problem, and it's not acceptable then. So we'll introduce some kind of Redis transactions. This is not a real transaction in a sense of SQL databases, but it allows you to execute a bunch of commands in an atomic ways. We issue the command watch and giving the key name. So this will be carefully watched during the transaction. And finally, if we cannot do anything, then we unwatch it. So this connection will be free of side effects later. The next step will be to introduce the transaction denotions, multi and exec. These actually will denote a transaction or the things that should be done conditionally only if a watched key has not been changed. So I guess that's quite simple stuff. Okay, the important part that Task Manager sometimes would like to know whether the state changed. When we log the worker, he will find it eventually, but when we do not, when we are freeing it, it must know when the worker has freed, so we can actually perform some action, like for example, look for the next task for it. And to receive the notifications, we issue a subscribe command. But to be more precise, on the Python side, so this is a task manager, as I stated, it's written in Twisted. There is some kind of magic like Redis subscriber will handle the subscribe and actions for them for you. And this is the event driven. You see the very ugly method name message received, which is written camel case. And by overloading this method, you actually define the behavior for this. The second part will be about distributed semaphore. So the semaphore is different from log in that way that it maintains an internal counter. So it means that it can be released or acquired many times. If we define a semaphore with counter 2, we can acquire it twice and also release it twice. But the original counter cannot be exceeded by further calls. And this will be stored as Redis list, and the calls to it will be blocking. So the use case is that we can handle a multiple time. As I stated before, the usual log is not sufficient, and the use of a bunch of binary semaphores would not be sufficient too. So this is similar to string operations, but now we are using rpush, which stands for write push, so it will append an element to a list, and brpop, which stands for blocking write pop, so it will pop an element from a list. And rpush will serve as a release operation, and the blocking write pop as the acquiring operation. So when there's nothing, it means that semaphore has been acquired maximum number of times. The command will block until there's something there. So in the Python part, we do not change anything because it reacts only on events. Eventually, you can implement your checking whether the semaphore is free or not. And there are cases when you might need a state of semaphore after changing it. You could use previously showed a multi-exec block, but that's not always the case. An alternative is to write a simple Lua script. You see that it's very much like Python in this case, except this word local, so it means it's reallocating a local variable, so it will be garbage collected after this block. And this script only releases our log and return a length that we have left. Okay, but there's a warning. Multi-exec blocks and Lua scripts all are atomic in Redis. The problem is that blocking invocations in atomic way has not sense this time. It would mean that the Redis instance has to be blocked forever to serve this one. So making burpop inside multi-exec will return you nil, so it's none in Python client, or and invoking such a Lua script will Redis will respond with an error. Alternatively, you can use an rpop. So with its non-blocking feature, it will return you either nil if there's if lock cannot be acquired, or a value if it has. Some final remarks before you rush and implement these solutions in your software. Please care about starting conditions. Make sure that the logs are properly instantiated before using them. And study carefully control flow in your application to not introduce too many logs or too less. And also, please work up a restoring state procedure. When something goes wrong, there might be cases when the state written in Redis is not finally consistent. So you might want to fix that some way. For example, we persist a state in a SQL database as some kind of history of activity of a given worker, so we can restore a state properly after some kind of failure. So, well, that's all for me. Now it's time for some questions, if you have some, of course. Thank you.
Hello. Have you considered using set nx for the lock, the set nx command?
You mean set nx, right?
Yes.
For log.
Yes.
Yeah, we have read about this also on Redis documentation, as far as I know. This is an expiring command, as far as I know. Yeah.
You can use it as a non-expiring command. You don't need to set an expiry.
Yeah, but somehow it didn't fit our needs. I can't remember now why, but no, it wasn't sufficient for this kind of locking. Yeah, but that's an alternative for sure.
Okay. Have you tried to look at other implementations besides the built-in lock implementation in the Redis client?
You mean beside Redis, right?
Yeah, besides the official Redis client.
Ideally, it would be to write your own logs server in Python. But the case is that some code base we have, and the most is written in PHP. So it has to be something outside.
Ah, I see, okay.
Hi. When you're talking about distributed semaphores and logs, we're talking about, so are the logs in one location, so in one Redis instance, and the workers can be distributed? Or are the logs and semaphores actually distributed?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I hope that someone asked that. Basically, we use a single Redis instance for serving our logs. Due to different limitations, we do not need more resources. But distribution you can achieve is by either sharding Redis instances, and this is done automatically by using Redis cluster starting from Redis 3.0. Or replication, which is also in this kind. But I prepared this, I meant distribution by, the workers are distributed. And these are different kind of resources that might achieve a log, acquire. Yeah. Does this answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Oh, wait.
Have you thought about using Zookeeper?
Uh,
Because I'm not entirely familiar with it, but my colleagues at work use it, and it's supposedly that, which is, synchronizing few distributed instances of anything to only get one resource at a time.
We didn't, and I have read about something like Zookeeper just yesterday on O'Reilly stand, but I will surely consider that. So thanks for a suggestion. But no, I don't have any experience with that.
Me too, but it seems like a good idea. So.
Yeah, if it would be simpler or better in some case, why?
Yeah, because it's used supposedly to, select the name node in a Hadoop cluster, for example. So this is also, a really distributed system, and only, you have to, think about it and synchronize that. So Zookeeper is supposedly for that. And
yeah, I will investigate this for sure. And if I came up with something interesting, I will give a talk at the next occasion, but not this year, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions? Well, I do have one, though. Have you actually ever seen anyone talking on a phone and writing an email at the same time?
Yeah, myself.
Do you manage to actually make sense?
There are some studies that shows that human that is carrying out a few simultaneous tasks is completely reduced by its brain capabilities. So there was a comparison in book I read that he behaves as if he had a brain 6 years old child. So, I don't find personally that multiple tasks at the same time are super, but that's what the business wants. Yeah. Yeah, because they respond with some delay. So, yeah.
Maybe. Questions? I guess we're good then. Thank you again, Sebastian. And he's going to talk to us about building nice command line interfaces, a look beyond the standard library. So please welcome Patrick.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome to my talk, Building Nice Command Line Interfaces, a look beyond the standard library. I am Patrick Mühlbauer. I'm a backend developer at Blue Yonder. I'm working in Karlsruhe. And this is my third EuroPython now, but the first time as a speaker. I'm pretty excited being able to speak here today. And what I want to talk about are command line interfaces, and I want to show you a little demo in the beginning I wrote today. It's called Brewery. I thought, I'm originally from Bavaria, I thought German guy from Bavaria, I'd do something with beer. So this is a typical help screen. I think everyone here knows what a command line interface, such a help screen is. So you see a usage line, you have a little description, you have some options, and of course some subcommands. And yeah, you can call these subcommands. You have separated help pages for your subcommands. This would look like this. Here we have a list command. Here we can see we are able to list some of the beers. So this would like this. Okay. Yeah, and these are actual beers from the Augustinerbräu, a famous brewery from Munich. And we can also list. We have some other. We can list our own beer by now, but we can buy a So let's look what the buy command looks like. So we have an option name and an option count. So let's use this. Let's buy a 6-pack of beer. So now we have 6 bottles of pills. Yeah. So that's just as a short introduction, so you get the idea what a command line interface is if you don't know already. And what I want to talk about is if you are new to Python or programming, you might start. So as I started programming, I ended up parsing sys.argv by hand, and I have seen others doing the same. So sys.argv is just a list of the command line arguments, and if you try to parse that by yourself, you end up with pretty ugly code. Or you start writing your own parser, but yeah, there are already some like getopt. Getopt is an implementation. It's the implementation for Python, but it's actually from C. And if you are familiar with the C programming language and have used getopt, it might be a good fit for you, but I don't recommend to use it. It's not. So if you want to stick to the standard library, you might find optparse or argparse more pleasant. I have to say optparse is deprecated by now, argparse is the newer one. And yeah, argparse, I think it's okay. It does its job, it's pretty straightforward. But if your application grows and you have multiple subcommands, you always have to create all these subparsers, and yeah, the code starts growing not that nice. So if you think so too, you might be wondering if there's more. And yeah, there is. So I want to show you today 3 libraries which are out there. Click, docopt, and Cliff. The first one is Click. It's a project created by Armin Ronacher. I think a lot of you know him. He's quite popular in the Python community.
He has created, for example, Flask and Jinja. And he was also not that happy with the solutions already out there. So he decided to write his own, and Click was born. And Click is a decorator implementation, so you use decorators to mark your functions as commands, for example. And Click is highly configurable, and it also comes with. So DocOpt has a completely different approach. For DocOpt, you have seen these help screens. For DocOpt, you just write these help screens, and then you already have your parser. DocOpt will pass this docstring, and then you get your arguments as a dictionary. So the service is Cliff. It's from a developer from OpenStack, and Cliff is more like a framework for multi-level commands, something like, for example, where you have this git add, git push, and so on. And for its subcommands, it uses setup tools entry points. So you define an entry point in your setup py, and then Cliff will find it, and yeah, I will show you that later on. And it also comes with output formatters. I have a little demo. It's better I show you that later. So let's start with Click. How does it look like? A minimal example would look like this. You just have a function and decorate it with the command decorator, and yeah, you're done. Then you could call your script, and you already would get a help message looking like that, which is the starting point for DocOpt. So in DocOpt, you start writing this help message, then use the DocOpt function, this docstring in it, and get back the dictionary with the passed arguments and options. So for Cliff, this is more code, but actually it's not that complicated. There are two important things here. It's this app class and the command manager. So you have the subclass from app, and then you have to pass a command manager to it. And this command manager is, the command manager says how subcommands should be found. And the default command manager here finds subcommands via setup tool entry points, like I already said. So it looks for setup entry points in the Cliff Brewery, cliff.brewery entry point names. So subcommands. For Click, you have another decorator called group. So now you say your run function should be a group, and then you use this group to decorate other functions as commands, as subcommands, which belong then to this group. It's just lines of code, and you have your first subcommand. So in DocOpt, it's a bit more complicated if you want to have separate messages for each subcommand, because what you could do using subcommands is just write multiple usage lines where you can say instead of command you have list, by, and so on, but then you would not have separate help messages. So what you can do is you can implement your subcommand in another module, write your docstring, then so check here if the command you used is, for example, list, import the module, and then put its docstring to DocOpt. Well, using DocOpt with subcommands is not really nice. You can see properly. So, and now Cliff. here in your setup pie, you have this entry points, keywords argument, and now you say, again, this cliff.brewery entry point group, and to define a subcommand, you say, for example, list equals brewery.
There. Come on. It's more fun at the front anyway. Here we go. So welcome back. Has everyone had a good conference day today? Yeah. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Come on. Yeah. About the same, but still, 2 is twice as much. So, let's say, without any further ado, let's have Miguel to talk to us and about whatever he'd like.
Yeah. I feel like a rock concert with this guy next to me. I think I'm gonna. Anyways, so I don't have slides. I just have web pages and Emacs. So I'm gonna quickly. My name is Miguel. I live in Germany, now in Berlin, and I'm gonna share a personal experience with you. No, you won't have to cry. Don't worry. I'm gonna share how in January of this year, my girlfriend got a job offer in Berlin, and she wanted to move there. I was living in Munich at the time. And so we started looking for a normal person will do, you know. So the first thing I did, I went to this sort of web page, look for, oh, this is a little big, look for places to live, normal, like that's Immobilien Scout. It's a famous, at least in Germany, web search or a web to search flats. And so we only had a requirement. Her job was in the really south part of Berlin, like in the middle of nowhere. So, but we wanted to live in the. We sort of say, well, let's get something central, but at least you can reach your job in less than 15 minutes. So, okay, what is the approach? You look for some apartments. You take the address, and then you go for Google, and then you search for the fastest way to get there, and then, for example, in this case, it's around 46 minutes. That would mean I will have to do this a lot, and then send the link to her. You know how we call that? That's super boring. So I said, well, maybe there's a way I can sort of automate this and impress my girlfriend at the same time, So I I didn't know anything about Scrapy or Scrappy or anything. I actually only have 1 year programming in Python, so it was everything. Well, let's see, let's check it out. Let's check the tutorial, copy all the code I can, and hack something. So I basically coded a scrapper that takes all that. And the idea was to get all the information, and then using Google API, try to add to that information the distance or the time that it would take to go to that place and get the best offer, and maybe send her an email or plot it somehow and send it to her. So really cool. That's a Scrapy class, Scrapy, sorry. And it's basically a lot of fields you have to fill. I code a spider, and you probably know a bit of Scrapy as well. So basically, it's super hacky. Goes to the web page, get all of these items you see here. So I get the price of the meter, which is the rent price, the square meters, the number of rooms, etc. Scrapy provides something called pipelines that once you have already an item or something that you scrap, you can add any other information or add more data. So I took that, I wrote a pipeline that basically, as you say, at the time, take the item, I use geolocation, get the place where my girlfriend is gonna work and the place where that particular flat listing is, and I sort of calculate the best route using Google API. So far, so good. I ended up with sort of JSON with all the information I wanted. So now, cool, but I cannot send this to my girlfriend. Seriously? So I said, okay, let's use IPython. I use IPython at work. It's okay, what? Let's do it. And I use IPython and pandas, and I sort of load everything up. What good thing is you can also actually do sort of like SQL-like queries. And I say in this sample, I get only something less than $800, and that the time job was less than 40 minutes, right? And I get a list of these with the links. Now, IPython has something good that you can actually run HTML and JavaScript, like he can render that. And so I can basically, inside render a Google map with those points, actually. And I won't go into details here, but basically you use, from IPython core display, you use HTML and JavaScript. You have to write the JavaScript also not nice. And what I did was to write sort of like templates of the JavaScript. So each of those is a marker inside the Google map. And you can see I replaced the name of the variables and all the information that I require. And then I sort of like compile that code. And then I can run it. And in this case, you can see the whole HTML is there. And this is an object here that renders the HTML. That it doesn't work statically, so you have to be running the IPython notebooks. And so in this case, I generated it and put it in an iframe on my web page. And this is the result. Basically, gives me sort of like a map with all the possible, with only the flats I want to take a look at. If I click one of the, it would give me the link to check it out. The time she would take to go to the MPI, I took the best, that's the fastest one. The size and the price of the, in Germany, is like cold rent, which is without any other extra cost. So the experience, using this tool, I got like my girl, oh, so cool, and she started looking for an apartment. She was in Munich, so she went to all the ones she liked. We got our apartment, and since April, we're living in one of the places we found. I found something. So, what?
That means the end.
I got like, what happened? So yeah, so I can say that
Miguel, you're out of time.
Sorry.
5 minutes is up. So thanks very much. That was amazing. Okay, a little reminder of the Lightning Talk rules, which a good Lightning Talk host would have done first at the beginning, which is the speakers have exactly 5 minutes. That's no problem. No. You're very much allowed to get to the end like that. So if the speaker is nearing the end, I'm going to put up one hand. If I put up one hand, you guys need to clap fingers like this, Well, did I practice that for me? It's a weird sound, which if you're not expecting, a speaker would be completely freaked out. I'm so sorry. And then if I put up 2 hands, you're going to clap massively loudly and go, well done! Thanks very much. Next, we're going to have Lynn, and I also would like to come up to the stage. Could we have, please, Hinek? Are you anywhere nearby? Hooray. Okay, fine. After that, it's going to be Larry Hastings. He's nearby too. Everything's great. Okay. Take it away, Lynn.
Awesome, thank you. Side note, you and I are hosting lightning talks at PyCon in Portland, so you should come see us. All right, just a little pimping out here. So yet another self-promoting lightning talk. I'm Lynn Root, Roglin on the interwebs, and I'm from San Francisco, a place that costs twice as much for a lot less than Berlin. The TLDR ramifications is a Python reference implementation of RAML. It parses RAML into Python objects. To give some context real quickly, what is RAML? RAML stands for REST API Modeling Language and builds on top of YAML, go figure. If you've heard of Blueprint or Swagger, it's a very similar concept, and essentially is meant to describe your REST API. Within a RAML file, you define API endpoints, if it's secured by OAuth, if/how it's paginated, etc. So why would you use RAML or Swagger or Blueprint, etc.? It gives you a single source of truth for your REST APIs, and since it's in RAML, or in YAML, it's both human and machine readable, and it essentially gives you a clear definition of your API, what it expects to receive, and how it responds. But why RAML specifically? Unlike Swagger, you're not limited to JSON schemas. Typing out JSON is a bit of a pain and repetitive, but you can use JSON in RAML if you really want to. RAML allows you to define and maintain more than one version of your API. Blueprint does as well, but not Swagger. You can include sample representations, for instance, give example responses for endpoints. A huge difference between RAML and the others, and the main reason why Spotify chose RAML is the ability to refer and pull in external files, either from the system or over HTTP. So when I started at Spotify, I had to answer a lot of questions about our web API and how it behaved, how to work with OAuth, etc. And I got annoyed. I'm sure you all can relate. So I built a thing. I made a developer console where you can test out our API, see how it behaves, how to get an OAuth token, getting real responses to sample requests. It's on our developer website if you want to check it out. But it's essentially a Flask app that creates forms based off of our RAML file. It knows nothing about Spotify, it just takes in the RAML file. And it's super easy to maintain. So being the good developer that I am open sourcing it. The first portion of which is the parser for RAML. And so what Ramifications does, again, is takes a RAML file and gives you Python objects. And it's best to see it in action. However, I am not Dave Beasley, and I can't do live demos that well. Let's see here. Sorry, awkward pause. There we go. Not so live demo. Oh, gosh. Come on. There we go. Let's see. All right, so you can kind of see it. I'm sorry for the huge text, because I was trying to be good. So you would import ramifications, and you define your RAML file and pass it through parse. You have an API object. You can optionally pass in if you want to validate, or if you want to just add some more things that are legal in RAML. So you have an API object. This is how you would validate it. You would just import the validate function and validate. It returns nothing if everything's okay, or it says an error if something's wrong. You can get some API metadata. You can see it's called, the object's called root node. You can get the title, the version, base URI, security schemes, and a bunch of other metadata. Let's see, some actual endpoints. If you look at Spotify's first endpoint, it's albums. It has a display name, description, responses that it expects, some query parameters, If we take a look at those query parameters, the example, and if it's required in the API request, market is not required, and it's a string type, description, however, it also parses Markdown, HTML. 2 command line tools you can validate on the command line, so you see a success. And you can also get a nice tree output of the YAML file itself. So back to the talk real quick. Coming soon, eventually. Back in May, our last Hack Week at Spotify, I made a small script that takes ramifications and creates static documentation. So expect that to be open source soon. And with that, a Flask extension, Sphinx, and Django. And then I'm also starting to finally clean up our API console code so that can be open source as well in my copious amounts of free time. So it's released on PyPI. The code is under on GitHub under Spotify, documentation on Read the Docs, or you can just go here for everything. Thank you.
Hooray! I was in a karaoke bar last night, and I don't know if any of you have been there. I recommend not doing so. But or go, of course you should go. I found myself singing Tony Braxton's Unbreak My Heart, which is a song that I used to hate and then liked ironically, and now basically just actually like. One of the wonderful things about karaoke is that people sing really badly, which means that, you know, it's a safe space to, you know, if you're not a very good singer, you can still go for it. And we'll continue that little song-based story in a moment after Hynek tells us about attrs.
Hi, I'm Hynek. I like proper data structures. And I don't think that tuples are proper data structures. And what does it even mean? So, ever had a tuple in your PDB and didn't know what it is? So, I'm of the opinion that if you're building your APIs around tuples, you're doing it wrong. A lot of people still do it. I would like to have this. Call me old school. So I want to have classes with types and attributes. But if you want to have that, you have to implement this, 9 dunder methods. And a small font is both for dramatical effect and it wouldn't fit. So there are ways around it. There are dictionaries which are awkward and are makeshift for data structures like that. Of course, everyone wanted to heckle me with named tuples. I know they exist, but they behave intentionally like tuples, so it's a feature, but I don't find them very useful, because let's see in this example. We defined 2 named tuples, which have each 1 value, and those attributes have different names. And still, if we put the same value into them, and they are equal with the tuple 1. So I don't think this is a good data structure. This is the reason why Haskell people are making fun of us. So, also, if you want to add methods to your data structure, you have to subclass named tuples, which, since composition is over inheritance, not a nice thing to do. And if you want to change the instantiation of your objects, you have to play around with instead of dunder init, which is also kind of hacky, magic, and idiosyncratic. So I like types, I like proper classes, I don't like boilerplate. But classes are tedious, as you've seen. So I'm promoting another project. And it's called attrs. And it solves basically the problem I was talking about. It helps you to get rid of boilerplate while writing proper classes. It works with IDEs, with JEDI, because the attributes are classing. The decorator just adds the methods to the original class, nothing else. And how do they behave? Exactly how you would expect. So we had 2 different classes. We instantiate them. You get a nice wrap for free. Of course, those 2 instances are not equal. But if you compare to the same, they are equal. And since within the same type, the values are actually treated like tuples, you can compare them. So 0.1 and 2 is smaller than 0.22, which is useful. So now there are some more nice defaults. So you can have both scalar and you can define a factory for mutable types like lists, DQs, dictionaries, whatnot. My favorite feature is asdict, which everyone who's writing APIs and has to generate dictionaries will love. At least I do. It even works recursively if you define it, so it's really nice to work with. And there's much, much more validators. You can switch on certain features, you can switch them off. Subclassing works just the way you would expect it. There's introspection built in, so you can query what attributes have been defined. So you can write your own decorators on top of it. And I'm over-caffeinated. I need to the restroom, so I'm finishing now. Check it out. Address on readthefunkydocs.org. And thank you.
Thank you, Hinek. That was great. Larry is running up to the stage. The next talker for that is Agata Maron. Are you here, Agata? Good, just wait here. And so I'm checking that you're ready, and we'll be great. All right. So what was I saying? Yeah, something about singing, and that reminded me, yesterday I did a little bit of a drum and bass emceeing. And drum and bass MCs are people who've got nothing to say, but still hype up the crowd. And that also reminded me of another kind of bit of hip-hop that I remember from my youth. This one is by actual hip-hop artists who do have something to say, and I thought I'd like to do a little bit for you now. Okay, this is by the outfit Salt and Pepper, and it's a song called She Thing, and it goes like this. Now I can bring home the bacon, fry in the pan, never let you forget that you're a man, cause I'm a W-O-M-A-N, that's what I am, doing what I can. The thing that makes me mad, crazy, upset, gotta break my neck just to get my respect, go to work and damn thing as he can, when I'm aggressive, then I'm a witch, when I got attitude you call me a bitch, weaker sex, yeah right, that's a joke, have you ever been in labor? I don't think so, no, I'm a genuine feminine female thing, can you hang ain't nothing but a she thing. Larry Hastings here also does raps, by the way.
Yes, I was going to say, how clever you are rapping at the Lightning Talks.
Take it away, Larry.
Thank you. Okay, extraneous else. In case you don't know the word eschew, it's an obscure English word that means get rid of, don't like. So, during David Beasley's talk at PyCon this year, Python concurrency from the ground up live, this was his first slide, and I saw that and I went, oh! Because there's a construction on this slide that I don't like. So to see what I mean, let's talk about if statements. So here's a conventional if statement. If the condition variable is true, we execute A, then C. If the conditional variable is false, then we execute B, then C. We all understand this. But consider, what if we return from inside of the if statement? Well, then we just execute A. We never get to B or C. And if the conditional variable is false, we execute B, then C. C is only ever reached if the conditional variable is false. B and C are really kind of the same thing. They should be in the same block, but one of them's indented and the other one isn't. Why is that? Because we have an else statement. It only takes a minute of considering this to realize you don't need this else statement. If you get rid of that else, boom. I think that looks better every single time I do it. So let's go back to David's, this is the law. You have an if that ends with a return. You don't need an else. You're eating into my time! You're eating into my time! I only have 5 minutes. So, this is David Beasley's first slide. We do the transformation, alakazam! I think that's better every time. Oh, man. Impressed. So, here's another example. This is also true for for statements or any iterating construct. If you have a continue or a break, if you've got this elif or this elf, you don't need the elif. It can just be an if. You don't need the else. Bam. More readable every single time. The final bad example, function, and you have an else statement that returns, but an if that doesn't. You swap the condition, you swap the else and if statement, and you negate the condition, and then you do the transformation as normal, and it is improved. Thank you. Now go forth and clean up your code.
All right, Agata. Agata. Who else have we got after that? Further IT project, Radoslaw Gancherek, which is exactly how that's pronounced, FYI. There you go. Radoslaw, are you somewhere near here? Hooray! There you go. Can you run to the end of the row here and come up to the front so you'll be able to get here quickly? Da-da-da-da. Who wants to hear the end of the joke? All right. Who wasn't in here and didn't hear the beginning of the joke? Oh, that gives me no choice but to tell the whole of the beginning of the joke all over again. Oh, well, let's have a lightning talk. Are you ready, Agata? Hooray! That'll be better.
Okay, hello, I'm Agata. I'm from STX Next from Poland. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here this year. Big thanks to Fabio and big congratulations for all of you who really made a great job this year. So really... I would like to invite you to go to Poland because, not only because it's a beautiful country, and officially I can say we have a seaside because everybody asks us, seaside, yeah, we have a quite beautiful seaside. And if you guys, yeah. And if you guys like Bilbao, for sure you will like Poland too because weather is pretty much the same, especially at the seaside. But today I would like to share with you our best practices, best superhero practices. We are a company about 170 people and 120 Python developers. It's like the biggest Python software house, agile software house around Europe. And I'm here not because we are looking for a best developers, but we do, but also because I want to tell you how we do it, how we build up and increase this business, and also the philosophy of our existing. We believe in collaboration and synergy effect. So that's why we don't send people on site. There is no possibility that you will work remotely, remotely for our company, but we as a company work remotely for our clients. It means that we have 120 people sitting together. Knowledge stays in-house. So even if you quit, even if you change a company, everything what we were working together for years stays in-house. So this is the first rules we have and we never break it. The second one is that we really believe in collaboration and synergy effect. For example, it's like unwritten rule, but it's working. In every team we have instead one woman, and of course it's not a tester, very often it's like developer girl or Scrum Master, proxy product owner, and it really helps, especially if you have like 8 guys, and we have right now about 20% or even 25% of women in our company, and also we support Django girls and communities like that too. Third thing, which is like really important for us, maybe not very agile, but really, really efficient, is like our own time tracking system. We wrote it for ourselves. It's like very often we tell about agile, it's like, it's not really agile. Yeah, it's true, but it's working. So it's like 100% lifetime tracking system, and our clients and also every developer is like connected to this system. So on one side, they're delivering on GitHub and stuff like that, but on the other side, everything is connected with Jira, Bugzilla, so every minute of our work is really there. Even if I'm not technical person, every minute of my work, even this talk right now for sure is like reported right to this time tracking system. The next thing, which is like awesome, I guess, is like that we are really involved and engaged in cooperation with our clients, and we are looking for developers also who want to really build a community inside. What does it mean? That means that we really want to do the software that matters, and we are looking, and now we are in a position that we can choose our clients basically. So we are looking also for clients who want to build like long-term partnership. So mostly we are offering nearshoring stuff and looking for people who are also able to commit, engage, maybe be even more than just involved to the stuff we do. So if you are guys looking maybe for a good job, maybe not the best paid, but very interesting. If you want to do stuff that matters, if you want to really be responsible for your life, and if you want to have a control over your life, just come to STX Next to Poland, because we have Seaside too. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Agata. Da-da-da. Okay, next speaker, and then after that, we're going to have this looks like Szymon Pszczałsk. And you're here, very good. And then after that, we're going to have Peter Victorin. Are you nearby? Excellent. There you go. All right, so what did we have? We had like a Russian watchmaker. He was showing his friends around the shop. They were picking out the best things. One thought it was like Gregor the bracelet. One thought it was Vanya the dial. And the watchmaker himself took them to the back of the store. And he said, no, 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 I think it is Olaf, the second hand. And they're all like arguing about it. They're like, no, 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 oh, it's Gregor the bracelet. No, 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 it's Vanya the dial. No, 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 it's Olaf, their second hand. And like they're arguing and arguing and arguing. And they can't come to a conclusion, so what they decide is that they need an independent third-party adjudicator to come and decide for them. So they get Tina Turner, and Tina Turner comes to the shop. Are you ready to talk, Radisol? Take it away!
Okay, hello. My name is Radosław Ganczarek. I am also from STX Next. Do you know what is FUD? FUD is a technique used in propaganda and manipulation when you are fed with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, so that you don't even don't judge things in a fair way. You judge things with fears. I'm going to talk about how it appears in IT projects. So maybe an example. Yeah, when Python 3 appeared, there were lots of fat. People were talking, oh, it's going to kill you, it's bad, and so. And time showed Python 3 is really, really good and better than Python 2. And people are slowly going from 2 to 3. Yeah, but there was a time of some uncertainty, doubt, when we weren't sure that we really want it. So what about IT projects? In our IT project, we were going to use React.js. And people were looking on this and were uncertain how it will look like. And there was one person in our team, an experienced developer, who took a look and said that, oh, it's going to suck. It's going to be awful. We are going to regret this to the end of our lives. And yeah, and all developers just, without checking, just took his point of view. So yeah, so we did it ourselves. No one came to us and said that, oh, React is evil. We just invented it ourselves, and that's oh, sorry. Okay. And that's how it happened. Yeah, the causes after this are, of course, early judging. You browse to first page of the tutorial, and oh, it looks weird. I don't know it, so I should hate it. Yeah, afraid of leaving comfort zone, because React.js introduces a language which joins in some way JS and HTML. You write the HTML and JS in the same time. So it's after all, it's a new language to learn. And of course, the third cause was blind following one solution. If you are really, really attached to one solution, it's difficult to switch to another one and you treat any other solution as an enemy. So result of this was that instead of enjoying new framework, because React is truly an awesome framework, and I got to know this, we hated it. It is painful. I don't know if you ever had a moment in your life, I hope not, that you forced yourself to code. And it's just because the fact, just because someone told you it's going to suck. And it's very terrible. And after some time, you get to know this tool and see, wow, it's awesome. I can do impressive things with that. But it's too late. You've just spent a couple of weeks job. Okay, so how to prevent it? Okay, kill it with fire. In fact, stop any discussions. If you see that someone is talking these things, make sure he actually know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's like a viral infection. One person starts it, and if he is respected in the team, other people will take his point of view. Okay, so what you are going to do if you approach a new technology, new library, new framework, just give it an honest try. Try to code with it and don't fear, because there's nothing to fear. After all, it's all in your head. Thank you.
Perfect. Fantastic. All right. So maybe I should just recap the whole of that joke again, just to make sure that everyone is totally on board with it. What do we think? Okay. Shimon, that's you. Okay, so where were we? They've got an independent third-party adjudicator that's going to help them to decide between Gregor the Bracelet, Vanya the Dial, and Olaf the Second Hand. And it's Tina Turner. Tina Turner shows up in the shop, and she's like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we're trying to decide what the most beautiful object in the shop is. And the first guy's like, oh, well, I think it's Gregor the Bracelet. And the second guy goes, oh, well, I think it's Vanya the Dial. And the watchmaker goes, oh, well, I think it's Olaf the Second Hand. And Tina Turner goes, Olaf? What's Olaf got to do with it? What's Olaf but a second hand in motion? Don't clap that, because I'll just do more. Are you ready? Take it away.
Okay. So everyone is all the rage about async.io, so you also want to learn async.io. But then you look into the documentation, and it is so complicated. There is all of these features, coroutines, tasks, and whatnot, and you don't know how to start. Then you go to the conference, and everyone is like, I'm going to show you how to make a 20 million user application with async.io, and you say, oh, it's not for me because it's so hard. So I'm going to show you a simplest, shortest tutorial for async.io. I won't be doing a 20 million user application. What I will be doing, I will be downloading lolcats for offline browsing.
Hooray!
Okay, so first of all, let's look how would we download some page with requests. Requests is a great library. It's more comfortable than URL-lib. And we are downloading from Tumblr. Tumblr has a great API, so we can get a JSON that describes some block like here. If we want to turn this function into async.io coroutine, we just do this. The AO HTTP has almost the same API that requests, so we only give this decorator. We put yield from here and there, and we use AO HTTP instead of requests. So this is a coroutine that would take the information about the block from URL base and print it. And after we get this information, we can use some other technique that is accessible in async.io. We can delegate our tasks. So we just take a normal list, then we put some coroutines on this list. We ask it to download all the pages with posts in this block, and we use async.io wait to make a new task that would run all these tasks simultaneously and wait for all of them to finish. In the same fashion, for every page, we delegate the tasks for all the pictures there, where we can see the URL of the picture. If we want to download some picture, we don't have to use AO HTTP. We can, for example, use some external console tool like wget, and we can also communicate with our other processes with async.io like this. And with these three functions, we get almost everything. This would download all the pictures, so it took me about, I don't know, 3 minutes to show you all the functions that you that you need to achieve a simple task like this, although that would be a little too good, because this would try to simultaneously download everything, so Tumblr will think you are DDoSing it. The last thing I can show you is we can use a semaphore to limit the tasks that can run simultaneously. And if you want, you can see the whole script here, and I think it's a very good point to start to take some simple task and try to achieve it. You will see that Async.io is very simple. The code doesn't get into any kind of callback hell or something like this. The code really is async, but it looks like a synchronous, simple, sequential code. And with Python 3.5, it would be even simpler, because we will get all these syntactic things. Okay, and the last thing I would like to ask if there is someone who plays bridge, because of us already, and we are looking for a fourth person, so if someone would like to play a rubber, please contact me. Thank you.
Fabian, are you here somewhere? Fabian Kreutz? Okay, we'll have you next. There you go. And that was the nice silent transition for everyone. Much better than the last one, wasn't it? Are you ready, sir?
Sure.
Take it away.
Okay, hello. Everybody's favorite topic, right? So how do you port to Python 3? You use the Modernize tool and the 6 library, or Futurize and Future. And then you pretty much have to go through all your code and understand what it does, which is the most hard part of all of this whole thing. If you're stuck, then read this book. It's available online. It's pretty good. Then you have no reason not to port your Python code. If you, on the other hand, have a C extension, there's also an easy way to do it. Rewrite it in Python, or use CFFI if you have bindings to another library. This well, you also have to understand all your code. You also have to rewrite it in another language, but you will thank me later, because your code becomes much shorter, much more maintainable, and just overall better. So yeah, it's easy, right? The problem is that you will have some people on your team saying, why Python 3? Why do you have this 6 library? We don't want another giant dependency in our project. So sometimes Python 3 porting for Python goes like this. You introduce some small specific wrappers that just the ones you need for your project. They're small, there's little magic involved. Then your library grows because you need more and more. And then you realize you have just re-implemented half of 6 very badly. So you introduce 6, your compatibility layer shrinks into a tiny adaptation library, and next time maybe you will start with 6 from the beginning. If other people on your project don't like Python and you have to convert a C extension, well, there the situation is a bit worse, because you still can start with writing these little compatibility macros, and you will realize that most of these are very simple. You just need to, read the docs and know what they do. And it would be really good if there was a, collaboratively maintained collection of these macros you need for porting C extensions. So if you're ever in that situation, you're in luck, because I open sourced my collection and it's pretty complete. And it also comes with a very extensive porting guide. So if you have a C extension to port and you, for some reason, can't use Cython or CFFI, then go to p3c.readthedocs and follow the tutorial, and it's explained pretty nicely there, I think. If you find any bugs, then send a pull request. Thanks.
All right. Florian, are you ready? Fantastic. There you go. So we're almost at the end of our time. Florian might be the last one. Like, who by vote would like to have more lightning talks and carry on for an extra 10, 15 minutes? By applause. Okay. Stop. Now, who by applause would rather get out of here and go and have a beer or go to the shower or whatever it's going to be? I think that's a vote for the extension. Now, organizers, are we actually allowed to hang around in here for any longer? I mean, there's democracy, and then there's the overriding force of the Euskalduna Palace of Congresses. Yes, we can stay. All right, fantastic. So should we have 2 more lightning talks, 3 more lightning talks, 4 more lightning talks? Should we take it to 6:30, 6:15? What do you think? Should we have, basically, what could we have? Like a sort of voting system, a sort of flip. Let's say 15:15, and then we'll make another decision. All right. So, who would like to hear the joke about the pirate programmer that walks into a bar? Wait, we already had that. Yeah, I'm out of flair. I should have prepared more. Who knows a joke in the audience and wants to tell one?
I think this is too low.
Total fail. We could sing another little song, like da da. We love the Python. We love the Python. We love setting up laptops. We love all of these sorts of things. I thought like with the whole. I could tell you another really long joke. There's one about a guy who's really into tractors. Who knows this one?
Well, I'll try it like this.
Are you ready?
I'll try it like this.
Are you sure? You want it like you can have a couple more minutes? Because I've got this joke. It takes about 28 minutes.
I have no idea why. I have no idea why it's a bit to the top.
You're going to give it a go?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go now.
Take it away, Fabian!
I have heard this conference a really great, inspiring talk about a wonderful theme, and I thought that, hey, I'll jump on the bandwagon and I'll have a very similar talk as a lightning talk, and maybe you recognize which talk I'm referring to. So it's a story. It's a story about the forest of technology, and where the big and wise snake called for a meeting, called all animals in the world to the meeting, and the mouse wanted to go there. And when the mouse reached the forest, there were all kind of badgers around, lots and lots of badgers. Actually, in the last years, there were more than 1,000 badgers around, and that is really a scary lot in itself. But badgers themselves are scary. What you don't see is that badgers have a really huge brain. They know everything. And whatever they say, it's really, really smart. And the mouse is completely intimidated by them. But unlike the squirrel, the mouse can easily adapt and just put on some black stripes, mingle with the badgers. And the only problem is that the mouse simply doesn't dare to talk to those badgers. So the squirrels are sad. It says sad there. And the mouse would like to help. The mouse was never really good in talking to squirrels, especially because the mouse thinks that squirrels are great with these great fluffy tails. You don't see that it says so fluffy there. and so the mouse rather hides in the little mouse hole, as mouse do. Now, the squirrels, the mouse is very happy to see that the squirrels are uniting, and they have become happy. There it says happy above that. But when the mouse looks around, it sees only badgers everywhere. And Another thing about the mouse is the mouse is too shy. It doesn't even want to build some group and participate in a public group. So that simply wouldn't be a solution. So the thing is that in the end, the mouse goes home again and is thinking about all the great talks, all the great public talks that the mouse attended to, but regrets a little bit that the personal talks were a little bit on the low side. So what's the moral of this story? It didn't have such a nice ending. And at this place, I want to say that I am one of these mice. Oh. And when I'm outside in the coffee area or in the lunch, at the lunchtime, I'm just standing there and I simply do not dare to approach other people. And I think this shyness is something that technical people have in general. I'm definitely not the only, not a gender thing either. So, if I were to suggest a solution, let's play a game. It would be a simple icebreaker game. For example, that the task is to seek a person of certain characteristics. So you have kind of an excuse to go around and talk to random people. And of course, it should be all very nice and low. So if somebody doesn't want to participate and just doesn't want to play the game, then he can just say, no, I'm not participating, and that's fine.
Tinder for conferences. Tinder. No, we can do better than that.
No, I'm not, I don't want to make a dating agency or something like that. That's not at all what I mean. But the nice thing, that's why I'm calling out in this lightning talk, if lots of people would participate, because mice don't dare. And if it's a thing where you identify yourself as a mouse by simply participating in this game, then that defeats the purpose. So I hope if I can get some help, I'm not going to do this all alone, but if I get some help, talk to me today if you want to have an influence. The game plan is a little bit unripe still, not very mature, so come to me and let's figure out what we are going to do. Then tomorrow, maybe if during breakfast some volunteers would come to me, and during the first coffee break, we could have a shot at the game. That would be really great. And I think that's it.
All right. So Fabian, do you want people to come and try and find you and like give suggestions for the game? Where should they find you? In the forest.
After the lightning talks, I'll hang around in the front area here around the Google.
Just in front of the entrance here. Okay, cool. Thanks very much. All right. Come on, we got to have at least one more lightning talk. What have we got here? Pi3C, PyOnConf Hamburg, Mike Müller. Fine. So there was once this guy who was really, really into tractors. Who knows this joke? Oh, you're in such trouble. Okay, so he's really into tractors. He likes tractors. I mean, tractors are cool, right? And so he's got like lots of pictures of tractors, and he's got model tractors, he's got Lego tractors, he's got subscriptions to agricultural magazines, he's got subscriptions to tractor-specific magazines, he writes to all the tractor companies and he gets them to send them brochures pretending to be a person that's going to buy lots of tractors. And so he's just genuinely really into tractors. And it just so happens that the EuroPython of tractor conferences comes to his hometown. Are you ready to take it away, Mike?
Yes.
Excellent, go for it.
Okay, obviously you like conferences, Python conferences, since we are here. Maybe you also like Python unconferences, because we have something that's called a Python unconference, and it will be in Hamburg just in less than 2 months in September. So you are all invited to come there. So who of you knows what an unconference is? Just a few people. So I need to explain what an unconference is. So what's an unconference? It's similar to a conference, but we don't have like a preset schedule. There's no call for talks and speaks and something like this. But the speakers can just introduce the talk on the day, in the morning, and just have to convince the audience that the talk will be good. And then there will be some kind of voting. We vote for the talks, and then people can have the talks. Typically, these talks are a little bit more casual than these official talks, more discussions. And some people really prefer this kind of style to a normal conference. Others don't, but it's very interesting. So if you don't know what it is, you're invited to try yourself and come to Hamburg. Last year, we had the first version in 2014. We had more than 100 people, and there was a lot of discussions there, and a lot of people liked it, and I think it was a great outcome of the conference, and people wanted to have more, so we have more this year. This year, we expect about double the size of the conference, and it should be even better than last year, if it is possible. And it will be the biggest Python event in 2015 in Germany, so if you ever want to see Hamburg, Hamburg is the second biggest city in Germany, so come and see Hamburg. It's a very nice city. Great. The program is very simple, so we have one day. The first day is dedicated to trainings, open space, and sprints. It's already up, and there's enough space to have open spaces and do some sprints. And then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we have talks. I should mention it's very moderately priced. So if you look at the prices, very, very moderate prices, so pretty affordable. The conference itself, and the talks are very interesting. We'll have keynotes, so typically we have some keynotes which are set. That's the only thing that's set. The rest is open, so everybody has a chance to give a talk. You can come as an attendee, but you also look for sponsors. So if you want to reach out to the Python community, the people that gather in Hamburg, you can come and find some talent there. So we even have some special recruitment options. So if you look for people, come, and we have a job board, and we have interview rooms. So that's a URL, and this will be the website. So you go there. That's a unconference website, and everything will be in English and in German. So you can have English talks or German talks, whatever you prefer. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, can we have 3 Python tips and tricks by Mark Smith? And after that is Jacob somewhere in the room. Jacob Haleen. Yes, very good. Da, da, da. There you go. All right, where were we? Yeah, the Tractor Conference, the biggest Tractor Conference, was coming to town. And this guy who's really into the tractors is really excited about this. Like, he gets his ticket way early on the early bird. He's like reading all up about the conference. He's subscribed to the blog. He's all tweeting at them. And like the conference day is getting closer and closer, and he's getting more and more excited. And like he hears about what like the exhibits are going to be and what kind of tractors are going to be there. And there's some amazing tractors that he's always wanted to see. And like he's almost come up to the conference day. Are you ready to go, Mark?
Yep.
Go for it.
Okay. Hi, my name's Mark Smith. I work for FanDuel. You can see that. I've been doing Python for 15 years, and I've learned lots of things. So I thought I would pass on 3 things that I know that you probably don't know, or useful things that I've built. So, useful tip. Number 1, this is something you didn't know. This is Marge Simpson. You're wondering, why have I got Marge Simpson on the screen? It's interesting because Marge Simpson is also ASCII art. And what's probably not immediately obvious is that Marge Simpson ASCII art is valid Python code. So this is something that I know this has blown your mind. And you're going to want to use this in all your own code. So I'm going to suggest that we add this to the Zen of Python. So import this. We'll get this added to the Zen of Python. So that's useful tip number 1. Useful tip number 2. Regular expressions. So you're looking at this, you're thinking, Mark, that isn't Python code, that's not going to work. No, this is better than Python code, this is Perl code. This is the second talk I've done at EuroPython, which has involved a slide with Perl code on it, so I did myself.
Final warning.
So what you'll notice here is that there's not a lot of code here. This is great. I've defined a variable called $a with the my keyword. All variables in Perl begin with a dollar, all things anyway, and that's nice and consistent, so we know what that is. And then we are matching the contents of that string against a regular expression, and then what happens inside the if statement, you see we're printing this out. There's a at the end, so Perl doesn't just stick a line break when you print stuff out. It's much more explicit than that. So Perl is more Pythonic than Python is. Inside the string, we've got a magic $1 variable filled when we ran the regular expression. So it's a $1 variable inside our own scope, but it was set by the regular expression. It's just magic. So this is the equivalent in Python. You'll see this is terrible. This is 5 lines of code, and that's 3 lines of code. That makes the Perl code nearly twice as good as the Python code. We've got an import statement at the top, and I think we can all agree that namespaces are an experiment that has never worked, and we need to stop doing that. It's just extra code. We don't want that. And then the regular expression, we run the search with the regular expression and the string, and we have to assign that to a variable first. It's really annoying. We can't do it just inside the if statement. It doesn't just magically create any variables. And then we have to test whether the match is none or not, and if it isn't none, then we can extract the group printed out. That's the whole point of really storing that away. But I fixed this, you'll be pleased to know. So we have magic search. We run the regular expression against a string, and then on the next line we have this magic variable called S0 that's been created for us. I couldn't call it $0 because Python isn't as good as Perl. So I'm printing that out, and you're thinking, Mark, how did you do this? So I'm going to show you the code. It's not much code, and you need to write it once. So we run the regular expression, and then we start going up the stack frame. So for people who aren't quite as experienced as me, every time a function is called, the variables for the function that called the other function is stored away in this. We can actually go up this stack, we can pull out the variables, and we can modify that. I found out it took me quite a while to work out how to do this. There is a bug in this code. If I have enough time, I'm going to show you how you fix this if you want to call it from a function. So you're probably thinking, like, that's pretty horrible code. I heard people kind of groan when I showed that on the screen. But it's fine. I ran this through PEP8. This is perfectly valid. It's OK to use this in your code. Useful tip number 3. I bet you can't wait. So Booleans they're OK. I mean, types are all right. I quite like types. So I used to be a Java programmer. I'm quite experienced with types. So they're fine. If you have a Boolean and you want to test this, it's OK. But sometimes you don't have a Boolean. Sometimes you've got a string. And Python's quite good. I mean, this works. So this is fine. But unfortunately, this also works. So this isn't ideal. So I've created a library called ish, which you'll be pleased to know. So if we subtract ish from a Boolean, whether it's true or false, we can then test, obviously, the standard cases work. I mean, you'd expect this to work with true and false, but it also works with the strings, true and false. It works with slang. It works with Esperanto. And it works with Unicode. So, I think you can all agree that this really should be part of Core Python, so I'm going to submit a PEP for it, and we'll get that into Core Python. So I hope you found this useful. If you're interested in using this code, I am GD2K on GitHub and Twitter, and you can check out this repository. It's got lots more stuff in there. There's some meta classes. It's awesome. And submit a pull request with some more experiments. That would be great. Thank you.
Jakob, you're up next. Amazing. Oh, that was quite something. Almost as good as a tractor. So we've also got Brecht Michiels. Did I pronounce that anything like right? Yes, of course I did. There you go. So the tractor conference has come to town. The tractor day is finally there. Like, he's really excited about all the tractor. He gets there like 3 hours before it's due to start to make sure he's the first in line. He gets into the conference venue before anybody else. He gets his badge. He gets in there, and it's an amazing, orgasmic world of tractors. It is very much like a Python conference to a Python person. But for the purposes of the joke, you have to square that or something. Star 2. So here he is, looking at all the tractors. Oh, wow, they're amazing. Here's one, here's that one, here's that one. And he knows in the back of his mind that there's a particular tractor that he's really looking forward to see. Like, there's a new John Deere Giganto model that's as big as one of those mining trucks. It's got wheels that are higher than your head. And so he's wandering around through the conference center. He can hardly contain his excitement as he gets towards the John Deere stand, and he sees this tractor, and sure enough, it is the most amazing tractor he's ever seen. And he's looking up at it, and there's no one around, and just the pure glory of his tractor is there. And he can reach out, and he can almost touch it. Almost, but not quite, because there's a little velvet rope. And he's like, oh, I can't quite touch the tractor. He's come all this way, and he's like, I just want to feel it, you know. And like, he's looking around, there's no one looking. And he maybe thinks, well, if I could unhook the velvet rope and maybe just sneak in quickly, no, it won't, I mean, obviously I'm not going to, you know. So he just unhooks the rope and sneaks forward, and he touches the tire of the tractor, and like this sort of shiver goes through him. And he's like, oh, wow. And then he notices, like, and he's like sort of maybe just rubbing his hand over it, and he comes to the door of the tractor, and he's like, his hand is just resting on the door handle, and he's thinking, well, I mean, just check. He opens it. It's not locked. The door is coming open. And he's like, he just takes a step back. He's like, I don't know, like, you know, come on, I probably shouldn't. But by this point, you know, he's already crossed the boundaries. And he's like, well, I would just like to feel what it's like to sit in the cabin of this tractor. I mean, I've loved tractors all my life. This is the most amazing tractor. Just want to sit in the cabin. So he looks around, and he climbs up the little steps of the tractor, and he gets into the cabin, and he sits in it, and he feels like the lord of the universe. Like, this tractor is amazing. It's stupendous. So is Jacob. Is he ready to give us a talk?
Yes.
All right, take it away, Jacob. Jakob.
So now we go from fast to the mildly entertaining. I encountered a problem last week. I work on a project where we install point-of-sale servers in stores over the world. And we do that from a data center in Finland, where we have a server. And last week, we had a problem with this server when we were installing stores in Great Britain, because the server has about 8 gigabytes of memory, and this memory is all eaten when we're running the install. This is a rather simple process. We have a daemon, which reads a config file, and then it loops forever, waiting for hello messages from machines ready to install, and then it spawns a task doing the actual install. Very, very simple. Why is it eating all the memory of my machine? So I started analyzing this problem, and I found that my config file was not entirely small. It was 165,000 lines. I need about 200 of these lines. So this seems to be the start of the problem. So I started testing it. So I wrote a test script. What's in fat there is actually what we're testing. We're importing this YAML file of config. And then before we look at the contents, how much memory I'm using up, and then after, we're looking at how much memory I'm using. And the results are rather interesting. First of all, this takes about half a minute to run. And after I've done my import, my system uses about 3.5 gigabytes of memory. And I have a data structure which is about 32 megabytes. But why is the system still choked after I've done the import? Well, it turns out Python processes do not give back memory to the system. And this is a long-running process. So it keeps those 4 gigabytes of memory until we restart it, when it reads the config again and keeps 4 gigabytes of memory. And of course, the task of installing a new machine does exactly the same. It starts by reading the config file, it uses up 4 gigabytes of memory, and then it does the config and it's done. But it means I can install 1 machine at a time, otherwise I'm totally out of memory on this system. And I think that learning to take home from this is don't blindly trust your third-party software. And once you are encountering problems like this, they're actually easy to solve because we can split this config file into many, and then the problem is gone. But how many people here actually knew that a Python process does not give back memory?
It's called fragmentation.
Ooh. Yeah, but
we might learn something else new.
Under some circumstances it will do, but under this circumstance, no, it does not. Okay, thank you.
Happy days. Thank you, Jakob. I love all of Jakob's talks. The pace and delivery of the voice just makes you feel like you're in safe hands. It's wonderful. There you go. Brecht, this is you. There we go.
Yes.
And we have, let me see, 2 more lightning talks after Brecht. So shall we finish them all? By applause, or should we want to go home? So first, finish. Versus go home early. Okay, out you get, Larry. Hooray! Are you ready straight away?
Looks like it, yes.
But everyone is desperate to find out about the tractor. What would happen if I didn't get to the end of the joke before the end of the lightning talks? My, that would be frustrating, wouldn't it?
Should I give up?
No.
Shall I give up my time?
I don't think we want to give up Brecht's time. Absolutely not. Go away, Brecht.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to introduce Rhinotype. It's a project I've been working on the past couple of years. Actually, I'm giving a talk about this on Friday, but since it's on Friday, there's perhaps little time to receive some feedback on it, hence this lightning talk. So it's not just a shameless way to promote my talk, it has another purpose. So I'll keep it short, at least. What is Rhinotype? It's something that's very similar to LaTeX in use. So it compiles documents, in this case, to a PDF. It's written in pure Python, and it has very few dependencies, so you can use it in other projects easily. For people that are not familiar with LaTeX, this should be a better description. Rhinotype comes with a Sphinx builder. That means you can create a PDF from your Python or Sphinx documentation projects. It comes with CSS-like style sheets, so it should be easy to use for people, I think pretty much everyone who is used to using CSS. You can use document templates, just like in LaTeX, to determine how the document looks like, or what the document looks like in the end. And because of the simple fact that it's written in Python, it should be much easier to customize when you compare it to a text macro language. Current status, I've released the first version a couple of weeks ago. I call it, it's near beta, so it implements already a lot of the stuff that LaTeX provides, including columns, automatic table of contents generated, footnotes, floating tables and figures are also supported. One major thing that is still missing are equations. So if you require that, you should wait a little longer. Also, it's still lacking documentation. However, there's a README included. So if you want to try it out, I would refer to that one. And I'm afraid I will need to do lots of testing and bug fixing also. I will soon release a new version. This one will have nearly complete Sphinx support. For example, it renders the Sphinx or Sphinx's own documentation, which seems to use most of the stuff that's supported by Sphinx. And it also comes with a prettier style sheet than the one that is included in the first release. So if you're interested in this project, I'd like to invite you to come to my talk on Friday, 12:30 in this room. If you want to search for more information on the internet, make sure you get the spelling correct. The H is not in the location where you expect it. And you can take a picture of these URLs for future reference. Thanks.
All right, anyone that wants to leave the room and is desperate for the bathroom or whatever it be, it's great to walk out while I'm talking. That's a natural, understandable reaction, but it's less embarrassing for the speaker than while they're talking. So this is a good moment to run off if you're desperate to do so. Right now, we would like, please, Quote Browser by what? Yeah, you're going to have that, probably. Florian Bruin on Quote Browser. Is this you, Florian? Fantastic. And after that, I've got Gemma Hench on why I love the days I get to optimize things. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, OK. Maybe. Yeah, we might even have 3. Well, I don't know. The sideways one is a bit controversial. There you go. Fine. So where are we, everyone? I think we're in a tractor, right? Like he's climbed into the tractor. He's sitting in the driving seat. It's the most thrilling thing that he's ever done. And then he notices that the key is in the ignition. And like he's already like crossed a barrier and he's crossed another barrier, and so he thinks, come on, I've got to start it. Like this is how many times this is going to happen to me in my life? So he reaches down and he turns on the ignition of the tractor because he just wants to hear the sound of the engine. And the sound of the engine is like the rumbling of 1,000 horses of thunder. And he's blown away by it. And he's thrilled, and the vibrations are shaking him. And he's at this point going, the tractor. It's all become overwhelming for him. He's like getting to the gear shift. He's putting it in gear. And Florian, are you ready to give a talk?
I am.
Hooray! Take it away, Florian!
So hi, I'm writing a browser, and that in Python. So by now you probably think I'm crazy, and you're not entirely wrong, but I actually have good reasons I do so. So there are 3 big browsers at the moment. Well, let's say 2. But I want Vim-like key bindings in my browser, and I want to be able to click links by keyboard. There are some projects for this, like Vimium for Chrome, but that isn't really integrated well, so it didn't feel like Vim for me. There are also some Firefox things, like Pentaractile and Vimperator, but Firefox really got worse and worse, in my opinion, lately. And now they're doing things like integration of third-party services to get some money, which I don't really agree with, so I stopped using that as well. And then there are all those minimal browsers like DWB, LuaKit, Usable, and some others, which I also used for some months, but most of them aren't really maintained anymore. And all of them use a deprecated version of WebKit GTK. So that was a usual experience, them crashing. So yeah, I did my another browser. I picked my favorite tools, that's Python, Qt, and currently WebKit. And there it is 1.5 years later by now. I have a command line with a really nice auto-completion. I can click my links with the keyboard like I want to. and it works on pretty much everything. It works a little bit worse on Debian and Ubuntu because those have ancient versions of Qt. Well, Debian Jessie not anymore, actually. And it works very well on other operating systems with recent versions of them. There are some things I learned. It's a very good idea to focus on clean code and mark EasyBox as easy, because that will get you a lot of contributors. I merged the 100 pull requests recently. And write tests before it's too late, because now I'm doing very much boring work of writing tests, which I didn't earlier because it took off more than I really expected. So you can find out more on qubrowser.org. There is an IRC channel on Freenode, and you can reach me at me@thecompiler.org. Thank you.
Okay, next we had, I said this earlier, there you go, where you go? Gemma Hench, where are you, Gemma? Gemma Hench? Coming, all right. There you go. And then after that, we have one final sideways talk, which is called Debugging Hot Found. I suspect that's actually an N. There you go. You can't wait to find out, can you? Is there going to be time to finish the tractor joke in this session, or is there going to be another awful one that spills over to the next day? So who wanted to give the debugging talk? This gentleman here. There you go. Are you going to be okay to do it? Are you going to be okay to do your talk? Are you okay to do your talk? Okay, fine. I have a seat down there. And, all right. It's looking a lot like there is going to be time for the end of the joke. Or is there another 10 minutes left in the joke? Let's find out after Gemma's talk.
Oh, 2 seconds.
Oh, no, not yet.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Take it away, Gemma.
Hi, I'm Gemma, and I'm a developer. And it's been about 1 minute and 47 seconds since I last touched a line of code. I spent 7 months working on a hair care website. And out of those about 140 days, I got to enjoy about 3 of them. Sorry. Those are the days that I got to optimize my code. Sorry. Sorry. I usually work for agencies on short timescales where getting something to work is the only thing that matters. But programming isn't just a job for me, it is a craft. It's about problem solving, which I do enjoy, but it's also about building something efficient, well-architected, and beautiful. Part of my brain that writes code is the same part of my brain that writes prose. There's a rhythm, a flow, a weave, and a weft to good code. When I take something that works slowly and I make it lightning fast, that is not only an enjoyable challenge, it is the pinnacle of my skill. I'm not just a code monkey mashing buttons when I'm optimizing. I'm an engineer. Something I love doing. When I was writing this talk, I came up with a few ideas for trying some problems I've been working on, and I had to stop myself from implementing them there and then. Write talk first, optimize later. Unless you're living on the event horizon of a black hole, time matters to you. Be it users waiting for a website response or deep analysis across giant data sets. Time is directly related to your AWS bill. Did I jump to? No, I did right. So, I'd like to introduce you to my latest and ongoing obsession, Kerbal Space Program. I don't know if anybody has come across it. If you haven't, stay away. It's worse than Minecraft, I'm telling you. Now, when I got started, I was experimenting around, and I sent up Bill Kerman into space with an early design, and he got stuck up there. Unfortunately, he's actually, if you look at the orbit he was in, not too high up, but unfortunately, he doesn't have any fuel to get back home. So, being a little bit obsessive, I decided, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to go back up, find a way of getting him back home again. So, I decided to design a ship to do it. So, the first iteration was, let's look at everything I did wrong in the first craft, put in lots and lots of redundancies, lots of backup systems, and this is what I came up with. Slight overkill in the design because this ship doesn't care about orbital mechanics. It left the Earth-Moon system without making any course corrections. So I slightly overdid it. But I thought, what was the original problem? All you need when you're in an orbiter's bill was just something slow, small, low fuel, just to slowly decelerate. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to fix that original problem. And what I did was built a small probe that was automated with a deceleration engine. And if you look at the size to scale of this ship, this is the optimized solution. Teeny bit smaller. So, what does this? How does this relate to coding? I wanted to share just sort of my 3 top tips when you're getting around to optimizing your code. First one, surprisingly, is don't optimize your code. I've made this mistake in the past, and I see it happening time and time again. People get stuck on trying to write efficient code first before they've got it working. And it doesn't work. You will get stuck, you'll get frustrated. The first draft, the first thing you write, make it work. Then write it, then come back and optimize it. And over time, as you get better, what your first drafts are will be more efficient naturally. What I write now is probably more optimized. My first drafts now are probably more optimized than the optimized versions of things I was writing 5, 6 years ago. But still, get it working first. Next thing, be evil. What this refers to is when you're dealing with whatever you're working on, generally this refers to when you're dealing with a data set, go out and find as large a possible data set as you can. When I was first doing this talk, I was talking about an analytics page I wrote that was using social media data. So I went out and captured a day's worth of the top Twitter hashtags. My original idea worked quite well on the small sets I'd used. Didn't work so well when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of items you're trying to deal with. And then the final thing, technically speaking, I just wanted to put break things here because it actually break things apart. Always try and take the problem and break it into as small individual pieces as possible. So when my analytics page was running, it was actually 20 different statistics I was generating, and some of them were happening that quick. So there's no point in wasting your time doing that. So, in conclusion, when trying to optimize, don't optimize, be evil, and break things. Thank you very much.
So he's turned the ignition on, the engine is going, and he's just gone completely crazy at this point. He's going to slam down the accelerator. He's driven the tractor off its stand, across the purple barrier. He's smashed it through some of the conference exhibits and stand. He's crashed it into another tractor. He's driven it through a wall of the conference center, and like the police and the National Guard are called out to stop him on his murderous, crazy tractor rampage. Nobody dies and no animals were harmed in the making of this joke. So he's caught by the police, and he's given a massive suspended sentence, and he's sent home, and when he gets back from jail or whatever it is, he just gets home and he looks at his life and he goes, I've let this tractor, I've got to call it an obsession really, I've let it go too far, I've overdone it, I think I just have to cut tractors out of my life. So kind of with a heavy heart, but a knowledge that this is what he has to do, he goes and gets all of his pictures and posters of tractors, and he takes them out to his backyard. He gets all of his model tractors.
I'm
Liz,
ready.
okay?
Okay,
He gets
so,
all of his model tractors. I'm just going to get to a good rate to break, and he piles them up in a big bonfire in his garden. And you'll hear the rest of the story a little bit later. But since this is the lightning talk, the final one might be tomorrow.
Okay. I want
Take
to
it
go
away.
home too, right? Okay, so I wanted to give a talk about debugging, so and I'm gonna do something very embarrassing here. I'm gonna do a live, you know. So I'm gonna demo a little tracing tool, a debugging tool, because when debugging, you shouldn't, you know, try random stuff. You shouldn't guess. You should see what's going on. So tracer is quite useful. So, but the setup here. So one day, a person comes in on Freenode, on PyPA, you know, on a channel, and asks about something. My package cannot get a not found error. I look at the package, and you know, the manifest is okay, the setup is okay. I mean, what the hell is going on? So I actually check out his this little project, you know, and then. And I run his, you know, his, the build command, right? So I run this, and then you see here down, oh, we have a problem here. Okay, let me resize it. There we go. I'm gonna run it again. Okay, so you see, it gets this error. I mean, what the hell is going on here? It seems that somewhere in, you know, in the many libraries that are involved in creating a wheel, somewhere, I mean, there's an exception, and it gets discarded. You only get the message. I mean, that's not useful. I mean, you cannot figure out what's wrong. So you can activate this tracing tool with an environment variable. So there's Python Hunter. The library is called Hunter, the bug hunter. Right, so I'm gonna set it to empty, so it's gonna trace everything, and then I'm gonna take the command here, you know, then I'm gonna just paste it here, and then you're gonna see that it runs all the useless stuff. I mean, I don't care about the regular expressions, right? So I'm gonna stop this. So I'm gonna add you can add filters with the callback. So I mean, here on the command line, you can only specify lambda. So I mean, this is very bad. Okay. Ooh. I know, yeah, the cardinal sin of presentations, you know, yeah, doing live demos. Okay, so I don't want any SVR in the module, you know, right? Not in EV module, which. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that's the problem with the demos, you know. I knew it, I was wrong, but, you know, it's boring otherwise, I mean. Right, so, okay. Oh, dear God. Oh, my God. Oh. Okay, so no, it's, whew. No, it's, you see that the red stuff, there are exceptions, so I mean, it takes like 10 seconds to run, you know, and let me make this, okay, see, so let's look what's going on here. Okay, this is the you know, the exit stuff. I mean, this is kind of, you don't look at it, I mean, right, it's confusing, right? But you see here that we got some exception here. Let's see, oh, wait, what's going on here? Ooh, lots of exceptions, but some. Well, we gotta read it all, and let's see. It's around here. I mean, you know what I said? OS error. Ah, look, there's something in BDist wheel. There's a sub-process being called. What? OS Environ wheel tool. What? Okay, so maybe we should, you know, just check. I'm gonna use the history this time. And we're gonna check what? This, I mean, okay, there's something wrong in the environment. I mean, okay, so that's why I worked on my machine, right? I was, what?
I'm gonna, unset this, and then I'm gonna write again and see. Let's see okay. Now it builds. Would you look at that? Okay, so that was quick. Basically, I'm looking for feedback on this tool because the API is quite bad, and it's kind of slow. So I mean, if you're interested in sort of stuff, I mean, come and talk to me.
All right, and that takes us to the end of the lightning talks. Thanks everyone for coming along, and will you please give another massive hand to all of our speakers and to yourselves. You're beautiful, you're wise, you're intelligent, you're amazing. And we'll have the social evening this evening. Everything is going to be brilliant. Good night!